Oh my goodness me, what a knock-on effect things can have when you're having fun. This morning the bus was 10 minutes late. Doesn't seem much in the scheme of things, does it? But it's thrown everything out. I got into the hotel a little late to set up our new radio service, Rouser Radio, which comes on in theory at 7:30. Well, it didn't this morning. It didn't come on until almost 7:45. So we had to cut that short a bit. And we didn't have our usual time to sit. First of all, to have a nice, pleasant chat with Shannon, who is the receptionist this morning. In fact, a general factotum. She's in charge of everything. She bosses and bullies me unmercifully. But I didn't have a chance to sit and chat to her. But she was feeling a bit poorly anyway. And she reports that she went to the doctor and asked for some antibiotics. And the doctor decided that she had got a virus and not a germ thing, whatever. I don't understand the difference, frankly. They're all little bugs to me. And that he wouldn't give her anything. So she said she's feeling very, very uncomfortable. Her ears are clogged. Her nose is clogged. She's got chest pains. And all in all, not a very happy bunny. And I do think that sometimes that the peremptory way that the medical profession treats us at the moment is just not on. And that we've got to really start to examine. And the medical profession is going to have to start taking some of the criticism that's aimed at it. Doctors, excellent. Nurses, excellent. But the systems that they work under are turning them into monsters. And not only that, ghost monsters as well. I'll be damned if I can ever find anybody. I want to talk to somebody face to face. I might do it through a computer, thank you. But I don't have the option anymore. I've got to do it through a computer before I get anywhere near a doctor. I'll fall down dead before I get there to somebody who can tell me that I'm about to die. I'd like to know. Thank you very much. And I think that the whole system is got so complicated and once again is enthralled to the computer. When is mankind going to learn that the computer is here to help us, not to lead us, not to allow us to throw responsibility onto it? It's getting quite frightening. And the trouble is that it's become such a sacred cow that nobody knows who to turn to get any sort of reform. Oh, there's that word again, reform. Boris used it yesterday. My God, that threw about the cat amongst the pigeons. Reform? Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Reform we are not going to get. Not in the slightest little bit. Anyway, we were a bit late on air, and that was the reason is that the bus was late. But what we have learned is that we've now probably got to take the earlier bus because the one that we have been taking when we haven't had a radio to contend with is just not early enough. Good morning. I'm Keith Hayes. This is Mirador Television, based in the White Hart Hotel in the middle of Lewes. Lovely people at the White Hart, always a smile. Shannon was here this morning feeling like death warmed over, but there was a smile. The first thing that she says is, "Do you want coffee?" And she goes and makes me a cup of coffee. And I think that is terrific when people are feeling that way. So we're thankful for small mercies. Not so small when you think about it. A smile in the morning is just terrific. And on a morning where the word apocalyptic is being used. Apocalyptic. Wonderful word, isn't it? Oh, apocalypse. Movies, apocalypse now. Apocalypse this and apocalypse that. Well, what the Bank of England is saying is there are going to be apocalyptic food prices. And then it adds on, and footballers' gay pride. the warning of apocalyptic food prices comes from the Bank of England governor, who says we've done everything that we can to stem inflation, price rises, a weakening of the economy, you name it. We've done everything we can, and now, unfortunately, we have to just leave it to market forces to sort it out. And market forces are not going to be kind. We've got 9% inflation already, so it's going to hit double figures. We almost inevitably can't stop that now. So that means 10%. Everything is going to be 10% more expensive, or generally speaking, all the important things, because inflation comes from us looking at a basket of goods and how much they cost. And that basket of goods is showing a 10% increase in prices. So that's what we can expect in our day-to-day living, a 10% price increase. Right. Did I tell you today that I love you? No, I don't. Hang on. These things pop into your mind when you start to use trite phrases. Did I tell you today that it's going to nudge over into the 20s? We're going to see 21 degrees in Lewis, and only a light breeze. Now, there is some cloud around, but at the moment, the sun is beaming through, and it's a lovely day out there, and one that you should get out and treat as best you can. Take advantage of it. Don't be kept indoors. That's easier said than done, isn't it? But nonetheless, there are an awful lot of us that have got used to being indoors. We don't want to go back to work. We're too used to the lockdown rules and regulations. Thank you. As far as we're concerned, this lockdown can go on forever. Well, that doesn't help. Life is tough, and we are going to have to behave in a tough way to get ourselves out of the mire that we're in at the moment. Right, okay. Let's hear the newspaper headlines. The Guardian, first of all, is bank chiefs warning over apocalyptic food prices. Now, this isn't the phrase at the newspaper. The newspaper is merely reporting what the Bank of England chief said. And he's used the word apocalyptic, so that we have got is, hey, folks, get ready, because there's an onslaught coming. You're suddenly going to find is that your the food money, the money that you budgeted for food, is not going to last anywhere near as far as it has done. And I noticed that the last two times that I've been to the supermarket is in my mind, I said I've spent about 12 or 13 pounds. Up until a week ago, I was pretty accurate. What I discovered this time was that 10 or 12 or 13 pounds had risen to 18 or 19. The sort of rise that the Bank of England chief is talking about. And I'm sure that you're finding the same thing. But if not, you are most certainly going to find it. You are going to find it. So be prepared. The Bank of England chief has warned you. Apocalyptic rises in cost of food prices. The Daily Mail, once again, it follows the same theme. The bank chief, families are facing food price apocalypse. And we're suddenly going to go into the supermarket with a tenner in our hand, knowing full well what we can buy for it, except we can't. We'll have to leave some things behind. And if it's the goodies, the nice tasting things on behalf, instead of eggs and bread and milk, then eggs and bread and milk are going to have to knock the goodies out of the window, because the price rise is going to be there. And unless you're getting an equivalent rise in salaries, in wages, which of course is going to come in the next little while. The demands for it, can't help it. You are in trouble, in serious trouble. The Daily Telegraph, a bank chief, food price rises will be apocalyptic. There we go again. Same headline, apocalyptic. The papers have picked up on this word that the Bank of England chief, has used, and warning us all of a devastating price rise, and that we're going to, every time we go into the store, we're going to find these things getting more and more expensive. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Right. Okie dokie. The Financial Times, as Bailey deflects blame for soaring inflation onto global shocks. The Financial Times is not being particularly kind to the Bank of England chief, and what they're saying is that he's actually trying to shove blame for the present situation off the shoulders of the Bank of England. Now, not all the problem is the bank's fault. The big problem, in many ways, is that it is partly the bank's fault. So if he's trying to shift blame, which part is he trying to shift? It would be nice to know what's our fault and what's not. But he's more or less giving a broad hint that it's somebody else's fault and not the bank's. The Daily Express, apocalyptic warning over food prices. There we go again. Apocalypse now. The Mirror, for once, just do the right thing. Right, there's a picture of Sunak and Boris sitting on the front benches. The Mirror has tended to stay out of politics recently. I wonder why. We don't want the boss upset, and we most certainly don't want probes into and I'm meaning the newspapers, or business for that matter, into the effect that we've had on the worsening economic situation. But what they're saying is a windfall tax on the energy splurge, and that windfall tax should be given to the very poorest in society. And it says you could give up to £600 to each household who suffer. Now, the big if here is, how do you determine which households deserve 600 quid and which don't? And if in fact what you say as well, by the normal means, is that may not be the equitable and fair way of supporting our society, then an awful lot of people will get away with a lot of things. Right. Then, of course, the Star, my dear old Star. Don't be so poor. And one Conservative MP has told people either work harder so that you make more money at your job, or get a new job, quit and go after a new job. I mean, talk about how unreal can you be? This lady, it is a lady, really should hang up her boots and give up in disgust. Or we should force her out in disgust. It is not the sort of thing that we expect from our leaders. Don't be so bloody poor. Of course, we can all say that to ourselves. But, you know, if you're actually working for somebody and therefore they are creating the employment, what makes you think that we can take over and do a bigger job or a better job? That's a silly nonsense, and that MP needs trimming by the ears. The petrol firm. Profiteers failed to pass on duty cut. So apparently there has been a cut on well, I was going to say domestic fuel. I suppose it is a domestic fuel. It's petrol. And it's to help people with a little bit further to go to help keep up with the cost. And the petrol firm apparently are getting the cut from excise and VAT and so on. They're getting the prize, and they're doing nothing about passing it on. So the Times says, hey, come on, it's about time that we did something about this. We'll see. We will see. The Metro, proud to say I'm gay. Well, here we got a long last down to the nitty-gritty, right? The footballer has come out and said, a first-class footballer, is I'm gay. Now, I thought that all this gay nonsense had already permeated football and that they'd sort of half accepted it and so on and so forth. Not a bit of it, this appears, is the first bloke to actually take advantage of the new rules. And I say new rules because I'm not so sure that it is necessarily a tax or whatever that is working for us and is actually not a legislation at all, but it's a directive to come from government without going back to Parliament. Right, proud to say I'm gay then. I don't want to lie anymore, which is the young man who's a footballer, looks like a decent sort of bloke to me. And down to the Sun, Colleen Vardy's evil text. Before we go into that, let's just take a little break, shall we? Let's go my favourite place and draw a. Well, there you are. That beautiful, beautiful park, historic park too. But certainly, when you want your cares taken away, if you want to be sheltered from the realities of life, if you don't want anybody to find you, that is the park to go to, and it is lovely indeed. But unfortunately, the realities of life are such that we have to face them. We just have to face them today. Now, let me tell you just what we've got coming up for you later in the morning. First of all, at 10:30 in our next program, Affairs from the Heart, we have Fergus Wood, who is a wine expert, and he's going to give a half hour over to telling us what we should be looking for, what sort of wines are in the ascendant, and undoubtedly we'll be able to have a view on whether we are going to see wine affected by the apocalypse. The apocalypse now. And then also, depending on our download capability, we are going to have Jane Watkins, who is going to show how to restore an Ottoman. Jane is an awfully busy lady, and she does all these things on top of her several jobs. And she always finds time for her work with us on Mirador. So those are the two things that we basically have got coming up. It is possible that our mayor, Stephen Catlin, who I think is now in the process of handing over the mayoralty after a year at the helm, and hopefully Stephen will come and chat to us and give us some idea of what it's like to be mayor, and particularly in a contentious year. Okay, Colin says Vardy's evil texts. In other words, Mrs. Vardy has been firing off texts to Colleen Rooney, who has just seen husband Wayne off to his job as a football manager. And then they settled down with time on their hands without knowing much about anything. And start to have a row about inconsequential things. And it's a full-blown court case, and is likely to. It's probably going to see the courts. I could care less who called who what. To me, it's a spat. And if they want to make it public, and I would imagine that there is some of that in it, because if we suddenly said we're not reporting on it, I bet you that they would, in many ways, they would change the way that they do operate, and would take that sort of money, if you like, with a nice little. This is a bit of an earner. Anyway, we may have Stephen Catlin, and then tomorrow, of course, it is Power Day. We've got young Max back from fresh from scouting around and discovering all sorts of things through the eyes of a youngster. We've got Stuart Stuart Dolby. There's an item this morning that says there are 3,500 people in UK homes, all of whom have got some form of dementia. And I have to say that I most certainly have. I forget things all the time. The thing is, I'm be damned if it's going to bother me, and I just keep going. The only thing is that sometimes people will say, is this left or right? And I'll say left, and then particularly pay attention to looking at what's happening to the right. So it's all daft. It's all very silly. But nonetheless, this is the life. We really are living in a surrealistic life pattern at the moment. It is Alice through the looking glass. It is nothing is what it appears. Everything is confused in terms of the instructions that we get. All in all, bit of a disaster, I would say. Bit of a disaster. Yeah, what is it? It's 8:58. We've been going for almost half an hour. Let us see, if we may, what we've got to perhaps take a look at this morning. Well, I like this one. It is equally as calming as the park. So let's play it. Well, there we are. A nice little look at some model trains. Well, I'm a fan of model trains, but it's amazing the number of people that watch programs about model railways on television. There is still in every male viewer that schoolboy desire to drive a steam train. And when I was little, whenever you were asked what you wanted to do when you leave school, it was always to be an engine driver. That's what you wanted. It wasn't such a good thing to become ultimately, because steam was driven out. It was no longer there. So once again, as it hits 9 o'clock, we are Mirador Television, broadcasting from the White Hart Hotel in Lewes, and it is the 17th of May, 2022. And we, in many ways, are waiting with bated breath to see the results of various initiatives. And are they allowing us to get on with a less complicated and more fruitful life? Well, the way things are at the moment, with inflation raging and the cost of living, I mean, the headlines are using words like, let's see, proud to say I'm gay, and the apocalypse of our sort of programs. It's sad in many ways, very sad. So that's the sort of thing that we're looking at this morning. And then in an hour's time, we'll have Fergus with wine. Hopefully, we'll have Stephen Catlin with a little musings about what it's been like to be mayor in the last year. And we have Jane Watkins showing us how to restore an ottoman. Very good indeed. So there we are. That's where we're at this morning. Where we are at. Right, I don't want to lie anymore. Is that's in the eye, the sun. Colleen Vardy's evil texts. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. The WAG war in the High Court is beginning to hot up with the WAGs, the wives of sports people, all of whom actually, because they are making huge amounts of money, obscene amounts of money, and take that to mean that they are the new elite and that they can call the shots. Well, it doesn't work that way, darlings. If that's what you want, then you're really going to have to join a political party. Actually, having said that, I don't know that Jackie Kennedy ever really belonged to a political party, but there was a little documentary on called Jackie O yesterday. I caught just a smidgen of it, but it pointed out how she got very involved in being a president or a president's wife who got stuck in to try and help people who are starving, who are not able to help themselves, and so on. It's that's the way that it is. At 9:04 on the morning. Let's see, is it where are we? Is it Tuesday? Yes, hopefully it's Tuesday, the 17th of May in the year 2026. Actually, it's 2022, but we're talking about 2026. This bout, or this round, if you like, of popular attempts to look at our look at our society and see whether we can pull a rabbit out of the hat and make it better than it is. Right. Okay. Let's stay with the theme of trains, shall we? Here's an intro, and it may well be that it's one that I'm looking for with a train, and it may not be. But let's join with me in the experience of finding out what it is that we're about to look at. So there we go. Just taking a check there of what we've got going on, and I think it is time for us to carry on looking at the headlines. And in fact, we've more or less completed the headlines. But one of the things that caught my eye was, and I love Little John. Yeah, you would expect me to, wouldn't you? And it doesn't matter whether right wing, left wing, in between them. And he said, when will the leftist superannuated student activists grow up and stop monstering Maggie? Well, again, it's all Maggie's fault. God's sake, is the woman was a prime minister, and she altered the way that this country was going on, and she it was a seed change, and we have never gone back to the old way. And at the time, it was the country was in dire straits. We were bust. Even the IMF, International Monetary Fund, in the 1970s would not lend Britain any money. And that was the way that it was. And the body bags in the streets. We were, yes, there was conflict between the miners and Maggie. But there wasn't really conflict between miners and the Maggie. If really we want to be honest, it was between the unions and Maggie. She said managers must manage. Unions must not be in control of management. They can be in control of the people. They can make sure that a worker gets a fair jag. They can be a conscience to management, but they cannot rule the roost in the boardroom. And that's exactly what had happened. And we were in a bad scene. So what little Johnny is saying is, yeah, she may have been controversial, but yeah, there's a whole bunch of students. Well, I can remember when I was a student, I was wet behind the ears too, but I didn't think I was. I thought I was very sophisticated and knew it all. And this band of jolly students that we've got at the moment, very much think that they are. So we get people with their knickers into a twist with yelling about the blame game, and it really has nothing to do with what happened in the 1980s. The 1980s were saw a lot of change. I was privileged to have been given some work at British Airways during that period. And so I saw the effects of privatization. I think British Airways was privatized somewhere in 1980, or would have been 84, 85, but the privatization process started in 1982. And there are a lot of casualties. The senior management of British Airways were used to reporting to Parliament. They were used to Parliament being their lord and master. And as a consequence, that's the way they drove the airline. But in the new privatization sector, now profit was going to be the king, not pleasing civil servants, and for that matter, MPs. So that sort of change, when it started to take place, was very much new, very much assaulting the whole idea of what we'd seen as being the proper way forward. And certainly that we didn't know what was going to replace a lot of our sacred cows. So hang on to the sacred cow. Let's just now take a look at right. What I've been doing in the last couple of days is trying to look at some of the things that we have done in the past, and it's and let's see whether there are things that strike a chord. Mirador has been around for some time. Let's take a quick look at some of the things that it has done in the past. Join Mirador Television live from the heart of Lewes, from the White Hart, starting live at 9:30 each weekday for 2 hours. Drop by and join the fun. Mirador Television, live from the White Hart. Join us. Well, that wasn't from the past. That's very much from the present. This is a bit sticky this morning. Somebody left a pint here overnight, obviously. And we'll get rid of those. But that did tell you, and we should be playing that far more frequently than we are. So what else have we got on? let's see, that it's 2:45. This is random. I put this down as random, and it's just a little minute of thoughts and snippets from what we have done in the past, just to show that Mirador isn't a one-shot wonder, he said. So little shots of stuff that we've used in our programs over the years, and actually we have been going one way or another, in one guise or another, since 2016. So we're not exactly new kids on the block. The thing is that we took a very, very heavy blow with COVID, and this is what you're seeing is our way back. We never closed. We were like the Windmill Theatre in London. We never closed. We kept going. We managed to put up some sort of a program each day. But now we're getting our act together and starting to bring things back as we knew them. So is there anything else we should be thinking of showing you? I have no idea. Well, here is our view on the war, bearing in mind that I haven't mentioned the war and neither has anybody else. And it's sad, really, because it is no better than it has been since the start of this thing.
How many roads must a man walk down before you call him a man? How many seas must a white dove sail before she sleeps in the sand? Yes, and how many times must the cannonballs fly before they're forever banned? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. Yes, and how many years must a mountain exist before it is washed to the seas? And how many years can some people exist before they're allowed to be free? Yes, and how many times can a man turn his head and pretend that he just doesn't see? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. Yes, and how many times must a man look up before he can see the sky? And how many ears must one man have before he can hear people cry? Yes, and how many deaths will it take till he knows that too many people have died? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind.
Well, there we go. That's a little take on the war in Ukraine, and it is not necessarily a view on this present war. It is just a view on war generally, and it's terribly sad when man reverts to war. But we've got one on our doorstep, and so on. Right? Okay. Now it's 9:19 and 19 minutes past 9. We end this this session in 10 minutes' time, and before going on to the more relaxed view from the heart, and it's where we do a whole variety of things, and we may get Stephen Catlin in. We may get Jane Watkins. We may get all sorts of things. Certainly, we're going to get Fergus Wood at the helm with his wine, liquid poetry. Let's just then end off this hour by going through again the newspaper headlines. Apocalyptic food prices and footballers' gay pride is the way that the newspapers have looked at things on their front pages. The Guardian, bank chiefs warning over apocalyptic food prices. That's the Bank of England chief who is saying they are going to go through the roof. The Daily Mail, bank chief, families are facing a food price apocalypse. Wow, it's going through the roof. The Daily Telegraph, bank chief, food price rises will be apocalyptic. Wow, going through the roof. Financial Times, Bailey deflects blame for soaring inflation onto global shocks. Bailey being the chief for the Bank of England, and he is, according to the Financial Times, is what he's doing is he's protecting his backside, saying nothing much we can do. We've done everything. We've tried everything that we can. The Daily Express, apocalyptic warning over food prices. The Mirror, for once, just do the right thing. The Mirror actually does go a slightly different angle. What it suggests is that there could be a windfall tax, and that then could distribute the wealth to those who are going to have a really bad time because of the economic circumstances in which we find ourselves. Inflation at 9% right now, so it looks as if it will go to 10. Price rises all over the place, so the paper is calling on Boris and Rishi Sunak to take things which have helped, have brought in stuff for the energy companies, and to say, all right, a windfall tax. A windfall tax being a one-off tax when a particular sector makes rather more money than we think it is or think it should, and we therefore tax it. And normally that money would go directly into the coffers of the chancellery. But in this particular case, what they're saying is distribute the largesse, give each family that qualify. And there's the rub. Who would qualify for this? But the idea is to give, I think it's £300, or is it £600 to each qualifying family. The trouble with that is that when that money is gone, you're back to square one. You're back to where it's all happening. And if you haven't actually used that money to good effect, and you won't have, because you'll be catching up with bills. You'll be catching up with the power companies, the credit card companies, and the banks. That's where that money will go. Nobody will see a great deal of it. The Mirror, is it the Mirror? Yes, the Mirror is saying, for once, just do the right thing, Boris. In other words, get some of this money back and distribute it to the poor. The Star, don't be so poor. It points out that some MPs really do have the fortunate ability to put their foot in their mouth, and one of those is a lady called Rachel McLean, who's a minister, and who suggested that people struggling should consider taking on more hours of moving, or more hours of work, or moving to a better paid job. Don't be so poor, its headline reads, in front of a hamster running on a wheel. The paper also points out Miss McLean earns £106,000 a year. In its thought for the day, ponders, where do we apply to become a government minister? It's not having any of that, Miss McLean, and I don't blame it either. The Times, petrol firm profits. Petrol companies, apparently, there's been a cut in either VAT or duty of some sort. And this isn't being passed on to the consumer. The petrol companies are just taking a bigger chunk of the profits, of the revenue. It's not a very good thing to do, and I would agree with that. The Metro, proud to say I'm gay. The other issue this morning is that a professional footballer, has come out and said, "Hey, I'm gay, chaps." Now, I thought that all this had been thrashed around, and that we now are quite easy with gay footballers and gay everywhere. Really, is that it's not such a big deal to be gay, and apparently not. This young man has decided that he's going to come out, and everybody is now saying, "Oh, how wonderful," and so on and so forth, and highlighting his case. But surely I would argue is if in fact you want gay people to be integrated into our society, they'll make a bloody circus out of every time one of them comes out and says, "Hey, yeah, I'm gay, and look what I'm doing," and so on. I would have thought that we shouldn't pay too much attention to that. Okay, the eye follows on with that. I don't want to lie anymore. The young man is indeed saying, one of the things was trying to pretend that I wasn't gay. Don't know why he would do that. I'm sure I've got lots of gay friends, and I'm quite easy and comfortable with them. The Sun, Colleen Vardy's evil texts. Well, that's all about the court case between Colleen Vardy and Colleen Rooney. My view is that if their husbands weren't so dazzling with a piece of leather at their feet, they wouldn't be there anyway. So why are they really bothering to get? Doesn't make sense. It really doesn't make sense. Anyway, those are the headlines. What we will do now is we will say toodle pip, and we will be back in about 10 minutes after we've distributed this program. Let's see. That's where we. Yeah. Let's say cheerio just for the moment. We will be back. It's like the old Leslie Charteris books. Is about the detective, the saint. Watch for the sign of the saint. He will return. Huh.